Well, guys, it is now time for my Week 10 picks of the 2024 NFL season as we just passed the halfway point. And of course, last week I went 12-3, which is third best results of the week. And of course, I did not update the overall and such. But it's still 4 weeks in a row of doing pretty good. This has been the third best week of the year. Hope to keep that momentum up and all that. Alright, so of course here is the current season standings and the playoff standings of the season end of the day. In the AFC, it's the Chiefs with the bye, with Broncos at Bills, Chargers at Steelers, and Ravens at Texans. And in the NFC, it's the Lions with the bye, with Packers at Commanders, Eagles at Falcons, and Vikings at Cardinals. And my Super Bowl matchup right now is the Lions over the Bills. Alright, so now let's get to my Week 10 picks, starting off with Thursday night tonight, as it's going to be a big one in the AFC North as the Bengals are at the Ravens. The Ravens won the last 3. The Bengals haven't beaten them since 2022, and they haven't won in Baltimore since 2021. So, the Bengals, of course, spanked the Raiders, and Joe Burrow put up 5 touchdowns, had another great game as they're trying to get back at 500 for the first time this year. Meanwhile, the Ravens completely obliterated the Broncos, completely annihilated them, which I was very surprised by, as they have like the best offense in the league just short of passing yards. That's just insane. Sucks their defensive stats haven't gotten really fixed after the destruction they gave the Broncos. So yeah, of course this is the second year in a row they played on Thursday night. And this will probably be a very high-scoring game, too, with their offense is elite and their defense is being complete trash. I could see them easily putting up like 40 or 50 points each again. Maybe we'll get a Thursday night rematch game like the Chiefs and Rams in 2018. That's going to be insane. But I'm going to pick the Ravens for this one. Alright, then we get to the Sunday action, starting off with our only game in Germany this year, as it's going to be the Giants at the Panthers for the first time since 2018. As the Giants won the last 2, the Panthers haven't beaten them since 2018, and the Panthers haven't beaten the Giants since 2015? I'm not exactly sure which one it is. But anyways, the Giants, of course, got... They actually played a competitive game against the Commanders, now that I remember correctly. They only lost by 5 points, and Daniel Jones actually played really good. 3 total touchdowns, no turnovers, but they just couldn't get the job done as they've now lost 4 in a row. The Panthers, meanwhile, they beat the Saints, which was a big victory, as now they've matched their win total from last year, so now they're trying to get a better season last year. Although, they still statistically are like one of the worst teams in the league. Their defense is literally like one of the worst too, except in passing yards being not as horrible and all that. So, this could be a competitive game potentially. But, although Young has played better these last 3 weeks, I think it is, he's still by and large being like a game manager at best and all. He's still not playing good. Daniel Jones, on the other hand, has had inconsistency where he plays really good and all that. So I actually think I'm going to pick the Giants for this one. Alright, then we get to the 1 p.m. game, starting off with the Patriots at the Bears for the first time since 2018. As the Bears won the last one, the Patriots haven't beaten them since that 2018 game, and the Bears haven't won at home against them since 2000. As we're going to have the battle between the number 1 and number 3 QBs, Caleb Williams and Drake May, and the Patriots lost a close one to the Titans after Drake May did an incredible last play of the game to tie it up, but they couldn't get the job done in the end. Still playing pretty good. Meanwhile, Caleb Williams, they got obliterated by the Cardinals. I didn't think that was going to happen. My goodness, as they now lost 2 in a row, they now are trying to get back above 500 now. This could be an interesting game coming up. Caleb Williams has struggled the last 2 weeks as well, after playing really good the last few weeks beforehand and all that. The momentum the momentum's starting to become towards the Patriots now. They've played a little bit better the last few weeks, not Drake May starting, but it's just not translating into wins though. I'm still going to pick the Bears though with their elite defense, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Patriots get it. Alright, then it's the Bills at the Colts for the first time since 2018. As the Colts won the last 2, the Bills haven't beaten them since 2015, and they haven't won in Indianapolis since 1998, when they were both in the AFC East. So, the Bills, of course, have now won 4 in a row after they won against the Dolphins, and they barely pulled it off, too. The Dolphins really played good against them, but they still got done. They have the biggest lead in all the division race coming up, as they're getting close to potentially clinching it, but they still got a long way to go. Meanwhile, the Colts, their defense did their effort, but they just couldn't get the job done as Flacco did not play good whatsoever. Didn't really make a difference if Richardson was playing or not the way he was playing. Oh my goodness. So, that's going to be a tough game for actually both teams, because the Colts can play tough against tough opponents and all that. But I'm still going to pick the Bills for this one. But hey, I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts somehow pull an upset. Although, Flacco, I think, is still playing, so they better hope he plays like he did the first 2 weeks, because, man, how he played against the Vikings was not good. Speaking of the Vikings, that's our next game, as it's the Vikings at the Jaguars for the first time since 2016. As the Vikings won the last 5, the Jaguars haven't beaten them since 2001, and the Vikings have never won in Jacksonville. Actually, no, that's incorrect. No, I think it's the other way around, that the Jaguars haven't beaten the Vikings at home. I think that's actually what it is. Alright, so the Vikings, of course, I've been saying this like the last few weeks. The Vikings were giving me like their 2016 vibes when they started off 5-0, and then they lost like 4 in a row and just collapsed off the fish 8-8. They got that needed victory over the Colts to not completely collapse so far. They established their season. Now they're 6-2 at the moment, trying to match their win total from last year. Sam Darnold, he had 2 interceptions, but he did have 3 touchdowns, so it's still a little shaky, but he's still playing better than he did before, so hanging in there. Meanwhile, the Jaguars actually played kind of competitive against the Eagles. They were getting destroyed at first, but then they made the comeback, but they just couldn't get the job done in the end, as they're trying to avoid matching their loss total from last year. They could go either way between these two, even with their horrible defense the Jaguars has, but I'm going to pick the Vikings still for this one. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars pull off an upset. Alright, then we got a huge matchup in the AFC West, as it's the Broncos at the Chiefs. As the Broncos won the last one. It's been a long time since that's the case. The Chiefs haven't won since 2022, and the Broncos haven't won in Kansas City since 2015. So the Broncos got obliterated by the Ravens, which I was completely taken back by, as Bo Nix played like crap. He's so inconsistent, and the Broncos defense took a massive nosedive in the stats after the destruction they had put upon by the Ravens. Meanwhile, the Chiefs, they actually had a very competitive game against the Buccaneers, and how about that? Mahomes finally had a good game. Maybe now I can start taking the Chiefs seriously, people, if he finally starts playing good again. And of course, he had that injury concern, but he managed to come back and all that. So yeah, this could be another competitive game, as the Broncos really need this win if they want to be competitive in the AFC West and clinch the title still. As the Chiefs are also trying to go 9-0 for the first time since 2013, and they're trying to get the first win season of the season, and their 12 straight win season such. I'm going to pick the Chiefs for this one. So then it's the Falcons at the Saints, as the Falcons won the last one. The Saints haven't beaten them since 2023, and the Falcons haven't won at home against them since 2022. So the Falcons, of course, and also the record's incorrect. I thought something was right when I was looking at it. Anyways, the Falcons beat the Cowboys. Their offense started to look good, and hey, Kirk Cousins played good the last few weeks, I think. Starting to really run away with the division now with the Buccaneers struggle. Maybe they'll finally make the playoffs. The Saints, meanwhile, they lost to the Panthers last week. Even though they outplayed them in every single regard, they've lost 7 in a row, which is the longest losing streak in the league now, I think. And they fired Dennis Allen, their head coach. And I think they had their special coordinator as their new head coach. So yeah, nothing's going right. And I think I heard on Twitter the other day that they might have traded Lattimore to the Commanders. I'm looking that up right now. So, nothing going right for the Saints after that incredible 2-0 start and all that. Let's see. Yep, they did trade for Lattimore. So, yeah. The Saints are really just probably selling off now the tank and all that. Nothing's going their way and all that. And I'm going to pick the Falcons for this one. Alright, so then we get to a big NFC matchup despite the record, as it's the 49ers at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2019, as the 49ers won the last 3. The Buccaneers haven't beaten them since 2018. So the 49ers, of course, are off their bye after they spanked the Cowboys on Sunday night to skip back to 500 and all that, as they're trying to get above 500 for the first time since week 1. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers have now lost 3 in a row in a very hard-fought game against the Chiefs. They actually played really hard, and they really probably should have won it, but Mahomes showed up when it mattered finally, and they lost that's a really tough blow right there to lose to the Chiefs. Oh, man, that really sucks for them. So now they got to go up against the 49ers, who statistically are really good, but they keep choking games away and all that. It might, to me, come down to, are the 49ers going to stop playing bad and choking away games and all that? Stats show they should win, especially against that horrible Buccaneers defense, but they just have not been doing good this year. They keep choking away games and all that. So this might be a bold pick, but I'm actually going to pick the Buccaneers for this one. Have a lot more faith in them after they put us good game to the Chiefs, even though their defense is still horrendous. And then a big our conference game, as it's the Steelers at the Commanders for the first time since 2016. As the Commanders won the last one, the Steelers haven't beaten them since 2016, and the Commanders haven't won at home against the Steelers since 1988. As the Steelers are off their bye after they beat the Giants in a close game 2 weeks ago, as they're trying to keep ahead of the Ravens in the division. Meanwhile, the Commanders, they beat the Giants in a close game, and they're just running away with the division. Well, not running away with the division. The Eagles are right there, but they're still keeping ahead of them, as they have also the longest win streak in the league, too, I think, other than the Chiefs. They're playing really good with, the league's second best offense behind only the Ravens. This is going to be an interesting game between one of the best defenses against one of the best offenses. But I'm actually going to pick the Steelers for this one. I don't trust the Commanders keeping that momentum up for this long. They've had such a great start, but I can't see them keeping up for a moment against an elite defense for once. Alright, then we get to the 4 p.m. games. Starting off with the Titans at the Chargers for the first time since 2022. The Titans won the last one. The Chargers haven't beaten them since that 2022 game. And the Titans haven't won on the road since 1990. Back when they were the Oilers and the Chargers were in San Diego. So, the Titans got the win over the Patriots. Hard-fought game. Their offense is still one of the worst in the league. Their defense, however, instead of by points, has been really good, except from points allowed. It's very weird. They allow very few yards, but they're allowing a lot of points. That's very interesting. Meanwhile, the Chargers, since it won't come to my head, there we go. They spanked the Saints. Wait, no, that's a few weeks ago. That's right, there we go. They destroyed the Browns, there we go. And Herbert actually had a good game, finally, throwing 3 touchdowns. Maybe if you play like that, Herbert, the rest of the season, maybe I'll take you seriously. Because their offense still is really bad stat-wise. I still think that might be because of the bye. And their defense is still really good and all that, as they've matched their win total as well from last year, trying to have a better season last year. I'm going to pick the Chargers for this one. And that's the Jets at the Cardinals for the first time since 2016. The Cardinals won the last 2. The Jets haven't beaten them since 2012, and they haven't won in Glendale since 2004. So the Jets finally got a win, ending their 5-game losing streak after they beat the Texans on Thursday night. Aaron Rodgers played really good, and they need that. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, holy crap, they destroyed the Bears. And how about the Cardinals? They improved their record from last year, and they're leading the NFC West right now. And they still have a chance to keep momentum up with the 49ers and Rams right behind because they have the tiebreaker. That's insane. As their offense is starting to look really good, their defense is a little lackluster. Oh boy, this is actually an interesting game. All the momentum, I would say, is going on the Cardinals side. But you know what? In a bold pick, I'm actually going to pick the Jets for this one. Don't trust the Cardinals probably to keep that momentum up where they've won 3 in a row now? And they got to go up against a tough defense, although they did just destroy an elite defense last week with the Bears. But I'm going to trust the Jets on this one. We'll see how much crow I have to eat. And that's the Eagles at the Cowboys, as the Cowboys won the last one. The Eagles haven't beaten them since 2023, and they haven't won in Arlington since 2017. As the Eagles won a close game against the Jaguars, as they've now won 4 in a row. They are now clinched a good spot right now in the wild card race in the NFC, as they got to face the Commanders, I think, next Thursday night. But right now they got to beat the Cowboys, as they played really good. Meanwhile, the Cowboys, they lost to the Falcons. They've already matched their loss total from last year. And to make it worse, Dak Prescott suffered an injury in the game, as he did not play good either. And now he's going to be out for several weeks, as Cooper Rush, of course, is coming back. And yeah, normally the Dolphins and the Cowboys spank the Eagles when they host them, but man, they're just struggling really bad. Dak's gone, and the Eagles are on a bit of a momentum roll right now, so I gotta take the Eagles for this one. Pick the Eagles for this. And then we get to Sunday night, which is a huge game, as it's the Lions at the Texans for the first time since 2016. The Texans won the last two. The Texans haven't beaten them since 2004, and their only win they ever had against the Lions. No, the Lions haven't beaten them since 2004. I'm a retard. The Lions haven't beaten them. The only time they beat the Texans was in that 04 game, and they've never beaten the Texans in Houston. So the Lions, of course, had a needed victory as they spanked the Packers. Huge tiebreaker here right there. They have a tiebreaker over the Vikings and the Packers, which is really needed. And they lead the number 1 seed, and they have like one of the longest win streaks in the NFC. Meanwhile, the Texans got spanked pretty much by the Jets. They couldn't do anything offensively, and they couldn't get the job done in all that regard. This will be a very interesting game, too. But I think I'm going to pick the Lions for this one. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Texans get the Lions seem like legit now. Like they're spanking like the really good teams so far this year. Alright, then we get to our final game Monday night, as it's the Dolphins at the Rams for the first time since 2016. As the Dolphins won the last 5, the Rams haven't beaten them since 2001. So, the Dolphins, they had, second week in a row, a hard-fought game against the Bills, but they just couldn't get the job done in the end as they've matched their loss total from last year, trying to avoid a worse record than last year. Meanwhile, the Rams, hard-fought game against the Seahawks, and they actually got, thanks to their defense showing up clutch and making Geno Smith look horrible, as they're trying to get above 500 for the first time this year. Although they're going to need a Cardinals loss too, and a 49ers, no, Cardinals loss, I mean to say just that, to take the division lead, because they have to tiebreak over the 49ers as well. This actually will be a competitive game, as both teams have been playing better the last few weeks. It's going to come down to, though, who do you trust more? This is a tough one. The Dolphins have played really good. They're tough the last few weeks, but they've lost games. And the Rams have played really good. They've won 3 in a row as well. Tough. I might actually make a bold pick, look at their defenses once again. I think I'm going to pick the Dolphins for this one. That's like 3 surprise picks I'm taking this week. That's probably a record. I'm going to take my chance and pick the Dolphins to beat the Rams. Alright, so those are my picks for Week 10. I cannot wait for Bengals at Ravens tonight. So my picks are the Ravens over the Bengals, the Giants over the Panthers, the Bears over the Patriots, the Bills over the Colts, the Vikings over the Jaguars, the Chiefs over the Broncos, the Falcons over the Saints, the Buccaneers over the 49ers, the Steelers over the Commanders, the Chargers over the Titans, the Jets over the Cardinals, the Eagles over the Cowboys, the Lions over the Texans, and the Dolphins over the Rams. Alright, so that wraps up this week, guys. See you all next time for Week 11 picks.